Welcome to the Favorites, the podcast, part of the Action Network. I am Chad Millman, Chief Content Officer of the Action Network. We are live on YouTube. Send in your questions. We are live on AMP. Send in your questions. Matt Mitchell will be monitoring. We are presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. I am joined, as I am for every episode, by my BFF, my companion, my compadre, professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Aloha, Chad. How you doing, brother?
Dude, finals are over. We still got one game left. Well, we think we got one game left. Could be more in the Stanley Cup. Later on in the show, Mike Leboff, who is dressed for the occasion, he's going to come on. He's going to talk about the brouhaha at the end of Game 4 in the Stanley Cup. We're going to preview Game 5. We're going to talk about some NHL stuff. We're also going to go to Jason Sobel, who is live on the scene in Los Angeles for the U.S. Open, back in L.A. for the first time in 75 years. I want to remind you, Simon, and everybody else, I start doing my golf handicapping the week of the majors. And my handicapping consists of listen to Sobel on Links and Locks, read Sobel, read Matt Vincenzi, read Josh Perry. I put together a list based on all their intel. I go into my majors golf pool with a variety of other people here at Action Network. I have won 4 of the past 6 majors pools just by doing that.
No, the golf guys are red hot. I told you. I literally this offseason I've made more money probably than I did during the NFL season just betting golf, NASCAR, and darts. I don't know what's happening, Chad, but it's all working out right now.
Well, you know what? Leboff is going to come on in a little bit. We should have Leboff talk a little bit about the darts because he did cover the darts, also presented by Bet365 at MSG this year. And no one loves the darts better than Leboff. Before we get to Sobel, I've mentioned Bet365 about 17 times so far. But you know what? We're proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer. Bet $1 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets. And Bet365 is now live in Iowa. So for new users in the Hawkeye State, you can get an even bigger sign-up offer. Bet $1 and get $365 in bonus bets. That's $365 in bonus bets. Must be 21 or older. Offer is available in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, you guys have heard us talk about Game Time in just about every episode. They're the fastest growing ticketing app in the United States. I love Game Time. Honestly, I use it all the time. And if you're looking to get out to a pro or college game this week or even a concert, Game Time has amazing last-minute deals on tickets to all of these. I'm actually going to open Game Time right now from my house here in Connecticut. Guess what I could do? I could get in to see the New York Mets tonight, $61 on a beautiful, beautiful June night here in the Northeast. I can see the New York Liberty, $21, WNBA super team. No matter what event you want to see, no matter where you live, download the Game Time app. Get out, have some fun this week. You deserve it. And you can redeem code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, just download the app and enter code favorites for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Jason Sobel, Links and Locks podcast, Action Network senior writer, on the scene in Los Angeles. Sobel, before we get to the U.S. Open, I know people want to get some action down. Last week, shockwave news, the PIF, which owns and operates LIV, merges with the PGA. There have been so many interesting TikTok stories the past week about how this whole thing came together. The players involved, Jimmy Dunn, a board member at PGA, Michael Klein, part of the PGA contingent, Jay Monahan flying around the world. eating breakfast at a hotel in Venice, hoping he doesn't get recognized to meet with the head of PIF to close this deal. Give me the 3 takeaways from the deal making that have been most interesting to you.
I hope you meant, first of all, Chad, that these are TikTok stories is in the timeline of what's going on, not that we all have to get on TikTok to follow these stories, because that might be the worst thing to happen of this entire merger that's going on in professional golf.
Interchangeable. Okay, this morning I was having breakfast with my wife, and my wife was always like saying to me, "You don't want to banter, but I like banter. Like she wants to chit chat sometimes." And so I've realized that when I want to banter, it's like in the morning, first thing, or at night, like before we're going to bed, I'm unloading on, silly things from the day. But those are the only 2 times she actually is on her phone during the day. She's very busy all day. And so she never wants to talk to me then. And she looks at me and she goes, "Look, we're not banter compatible. Bear in mind, next week, we're celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary." She's like, "We're just not banter compatible. You're on TikTok the whole freaking day. I know you're on TikTok all day. Every chance you get, you're going to go on TikTok between a meeting or a call or whatever. I'm not. So this is my time. So I don't want to talk. So if we can get on TikTok and find the TikTok about the Live PGA deal, fantastic. Instead, I've got Jason Sobel."
Yeah, well, I'm not doing the TikTok. If that's what's coming out of this merger, then I'm moving on. But 3 takeaways from what we've seen over the past week. First of all, more questions than answers still, even a week later. I still have plenty of questions as to what's going on. Look, I got into this business 20 years ago covering the PGA Tour because, Chad, I am qualified to watch other people play golf and then afterwards go, so it looked like you played pretty good, huh? And they say, "Yes, I played well." And I go, "Okay, cool." And I write something down about it. And that's essentially what I'm qualified to do. It's not very good. That said, once we start getting into antitrust lawsuits and the Department of Justice and subpoenas and senators looking into things, I'm like way over my head. But I know that my boss is going to want me looking into all this stuff. So I've got to get much smarter about what's going on very, very quickly, or else I'm going to fall behind. So there's a lot of that stuff still lingering. I still think that a lot of this was precipitated by the fact that there was litigation, both sides. There was going to be a discovery phase. The PGA Tour looked at that discovery phase and said, we've got some things that we really don't want getting out there. And the public investment fund said, come to think of it, we actually have a couple of skeletons in the closet as well. We may not want those things getting out publicly either. Hey, why don't we start talking and see if we can come to an agreement and we can all figure out a way to move forward in this game of golf. The other thing I can tell you, I don't know how many takeaways this is so far. I'm not counting, but
2.
in case
That's
you
2.
thought golf was best 2. Okay, good. I got one more. Here's a takeaway from everything we've learned. In case you didn't know this, in case you thought, golf is all about, it's a game of honor, and golf is about integrity, and golf is about, the professional level. It's about, who plays the best and who wins. I've got news for you guys. Golf, much like business, much like life, much like everything we've ever known, is all about the Benjamins. It's about the dollars. It's about money, money, money. It's about the reals, so to speak, because this is what it's all about. This is what is precipitating everything. I've heard guesstimations that the PGA Tour could double, triple, quadruple in valuation with this new entity that's been formed. And again, it's funny, Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, and the congratulations to Jay, the new CEO of whatever this for-profit entity is going to be. He was approved by the board. The board, of course, includes himself, Yasser Al-Ramayan, who did the deal for PIF, and Jimmy Dunn and Ed Hurley, who were on the PGA Tour Policy Board, who also put themselves on this board and then hired Jay Monahan. So that's how that happened. But Jay Monahan has said over the past week, I don't know why everyone's calling it a merger. It is not a merger. Well, it's probably because the press release that was sent out to the media on Tuesday at 10 a.m. last week said, PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and Public Investment Fund merge commercial operations. Sorry, I don't know where we got merger from. It was only in your press release. So again, that leads to maybe my last takeaway. I don't know how many this is. Maybe this is my 4th takeaway out of 3, but the 4th takeaway is I'm not sure how I'm supposed to report on this story. I'm not sure how anyone's supposed to know what's going on if the parties involved themselves have absolutely no clue right now either. They're saying, don't call it a merger when they're sending out press releases, literally calling it a merger. They're still in the dark. We're certainly in the dark.
As you've seen players come in, have you spoken to guys? I know it's still early there. What is sort of the reacts you're getting now that we're a week later and a lot of the hurt feelings and anger starts to subside as they reckon with reality?
The PGA Tour players are very, very angry at Jay Monahan. There was a player meeting last week at the RBC Canadian Open where a large majority were not just mad at Jay, but calling for his resignation. They were that mad. Now, I tend to believe that I get it. Like for the year and a half, Monahan and others with the PGA Tour asked them to be loyal. They preached loyalty, they preached devotion, they preached integrity, and then all of a sudden Jay just did the exact opposite of everything he'd said they should do, and he went behind their backs, didn't tell them this was going to happen, and all of a sudden makes a deal and tries to go back to them and says, well, things have changed. I think it's very hypocritical of him. In fact, Jay Monahan has said over the past week, hey, I know you can call me a hypocrite, and a lot of people in response have said, yep, sure can. Definitely going to do that. And so I think he understands the situation that he has put himself in. But again, this was about money. It was about the discovery phase of the litigation. This was about trying to save yourself, as opposed to, I don't know if it was ever going to go under, but there were signs that the PGA Tour was going to be hurting. Look, they had to infuse a lot more money into these elevated designated events that they've started playing this year, essentially in retaliation to live. Basically, how can we keep our best players? Well, we'll pay them a lot more for playing in these big events. Well, that money wasn't coming from the sponsors. That was coming from reserves. Once you start burning up all the money in reserves, there's not a whole lot left. And so they needed money. And this was the easiest way for them to get money, was to partner with him. As for what the players are saying now, I've had players on both sides, PGA Tour players and players with Live Golf, who are texting me going, hey, what do you know? What can you tell us? And I'm like, I don't know. I was going to ask you the same thing. It really is. I mean, I hate coming on shows like this one where I'm like, I don't know a whole lot, and anything we know is just, or we think we know is just speculation. But quite honestly, that's the case. And if Jay Monahan, if Yasser El-Ramayan, if Jimmy Dunn were sitting right next to me right now and we had them and we're asking them questions, a lot of the questions I don't think they could answer right now either, because I don't think they have a great plan for what this is going to be 3, 6, 12 months from now.
All right. USO back in LA. First time in 75 years. I feel like whenever there is an event in LA that is a major event, it feels a little more special. Like there's something a little more glamorous. It felt that way for the Super Bowl. It's felt that way for NBA Finals. Are you feeling that right now back in LA?
I am, Chad, and it's not just in LA. This place, if you haven't seen yet, we are like, it's as if they took Central Park in the middle of New York City, carved out a major championship golf course in the middle of it, and played golf in the middle of the city. I mean, we are literally in the foothills of Beverly Hills. The Beverly Hilton, one of the most famous hotels in the city, is hovering over the driving range right outside of where I'm sitting right now. I mean, we are like smack dab in the city, Hollywood just down the street. So this isn't just, well, it's in LA, but LA is a big place, and it's kind of away from anything that would be a touristy attraction or anything like that. This is right in the middle of the city. I'm telling you, I just went for a walk around this golf course a little while ago. This place is special. I really hope it shows out on TV, because in person, you walk around, you're like, man, this place is cool. It's to an extent the exact opposite we saw last month at Oak Hill for the PGA Championship. I walked around Oak Hill and I said, man, this course is really, really difficult. It's immaculate. It's in great shape for a major championship. And me, as a 7 handicap, I want absolutely no part of this, because I would lose my mind. I would be insane trying to play this golf course, because it's just way too hard. I walk around this place here, LACC, and I go, it's really hard, but man, it looks fun. I would love to go play this golf course. I don't know if they'd let me play, because I usually wear shorts and I might have some music playing, and I might take my phone out at times, and they don't let you do any of those things here. So I don't know, I'd quite fit in, but I'm telling you guys, this is a really, really cool spot. It's rustic, it's natural, there's nothing artificial looking. A lot of times we watch a major championship on TV, and from the blue dye that they put in the water to, making the grass a little greener than it was before, that it all just looks a little unnatural. This place is as natural as it comes, and I'm really excited about this week. Again, it's another chance to at least focus on golf inside the ropes as opposed to everything else that's going on in the professional golf world right now.
Now, could you give us a little course preview? Is there a golfer you think this is going to really cater to? Because it's such a unique place, like the way you're talking about it. I feel like that's going to give an edge to certain type of golfers. Is there anything that pops out to you about this golf course and, previewing it for what players it could be an advantage to?
Yeah. So Simon, we usually look at specific metrics where we might go, hey, it's a US Open. You've got to keep it in the fairway. And hey, look, that's not a bad thing. It's better to be in the fairway than in the rough. And boy, you've got to be a good ball striker. You want to hit it on the greens. Well, yeah, sure. Better to be on the greens than in the rough around the greens. So sure, those are all a given, but there's not one of those metrics where I look at. I would say 70 to 75% of PGA Tour events, the number one metric I'm looking at is strokes gained approach shots, where I'm looking for that second shot into the greens, how players have been hitting their irons lately going into that one. I would say about 15 to 20% of the events, I'm looking at off the tee numbers like, hey, if you can set yourself up with some long straight drives, 330 in the fairway, you're going to be in really good shape to make some birdies on this golf course. I'd say 5 to 10% might become essentially birdie fest, where, hey, the best putter is going to win. Everyone's going to hit the fairway. Everyone's going to hit a green regulation on these big, wide resort golf courses. So whoever putts best wins. We're looking at putting stats. I'm not sure that I've ever looked at a golf course where I look at strokes gained around the greens as maybe the most important metric this week. And I think you're just going to have to get up and down from everywhere. It's not going to be a very low scoring golf tournament. I think something certainly in the single digits under par, maybe even 4 or 5 under par, is going to win this golf tournament. And so what I extrapolate from that is it's all about creativity this week. I look at LACC as a palette. I want the guys who are artistic in nature. I don't want the players who are essentially paint by number, who just kind of plod their way one spot to the next and hit these stock shots. There are no stock shots on this golf course. What the USGA is trying to do, guys, they will change up the yardage on different holes every day. So it's getting a lot of social media play. The 11th hole, playing 290 yards as a par 3. Now they're going to move it up and play at 220 one day, move it back to 260, back to 290. They're going to make the players think all the time. What they don't want is a player who grabs his 9-iron as he's walking down the fairway. Like, I got this standard 9-iron in, no big deal. They want the players fussing over every single shot, trying to figure out. It's as much a mental exercise as it is a physical and technical exercise. For all of those reasons, I want the players who are the most artistic in nature, who are the most creative, and that leads to 2 on the top of my list. I've got Cameron Smith, who's been playing on Live Golf, but we saw him win last year at the Open Championship. He was second in strokes gained putting last month at Oak Hill for the PGA Championship. And then, of course, Jordan Spieth, who is the game's preeminent magician right now, who can take a double bogey and turn it into a par at a moment's notice. And we've seen him do it so many times over the years. So I'm taking those kind of players. If you guys don't want to listen to me, we had a segment on the radio yesterday. I was with my friend Gary Williams, who was co-hosting my show Hitting the Green on SiriusXM PGA Tour Radio with me. And I said, all right, let's write down our top 5 most creative, artistic players and guys that we think could play well. We had 4 of the 5 same names. We both had Cameron Smith, Jordan Spieth at the top of our list. We each had Justin Thomas and Scotty Scheffler. He had Patrick Reed, who I do like a lot this week. I had Ricky Fowler rounding it out, but there's no real mysteries here. There's no real, difference of opinion in who the most artistic players are. So if indeed the course plays to creativity, those are the guys we want to look at.
So you mentioned the mental part of it. It's going to be a jigsaw puzzle. It's going to be the kind of course where the USGA is trying to get people to have to think about every shot. Whose strengths does that play to?
Yeah, so again, I'm looking at Cameron Smith. I'm looking at Jordan Spieth. If we want to go further down the list, Patrick Reed is a player who we've seen win major championships in the past. He's a past Masters champion, really good around the greens. And so he's at 80-1. All the live players, Chad. It's very interesting. Even though Brooks Koepka won last month, other than Brooks himself, all the live players are still a few points undervalued in the marketplace, I think. So like Cameron Smith, Patrick Reed is probably underpriced right now. And so I find him at 80-1 in most books. And I think that's a really good number on a guy who's proven he can win a major championship at this type of place. The other specialists, if you will, that you might want to look at, guys who play their best golf on the West Coast. I'll give you a few names, not really for outrights, but just guys who either grew up on the West Coast or tend to play well out here. Sahith Theegala, who's going to be an absolute star. This kid's going to be a top 10 golfer in the world within the next year or two. Andrew Putnam is a guy who played really well at the Memorial Tournament 2 weeks ago, now comes back to friendlier confines. Justin Suh has played some very good golf on the West Coast. Patrick Rogers, I've heard, has played maybe more golf here than any other player in the field. Remember, most players have never seen this golf course before. There are a few. Max Homa, John Rahm, played the 2013 Pac-12 championship here. That's a decade ago. There were a few others. Morikawa, Scheffler, played the 2017 Walker Cup. That lasted a few days. Other than that, these guys haven't seen this golf course. They haven't been here before. So everyone is trying to figure that puzzle out right now.
Yeah, but you spoke to creativity. Are guys like Patrick Reed, Cam Smith, Jordan Spieth, are those the guys who you would say are the most mentally tough on the tour? Like if someone isn't as creative, but they're really mentally tough, will that make up for it for them? And if so, who are those players?
It's very possible. Look, number one on the mentally tough list right now, strokes gained mental toughness, if we want to turn this into a stat, is Brooks Koepka. I mean, Brooks Koepka shows up at these major championships, and I say it seemingly before every major championship that we sit here for a week beforehand trying to look at, well, I kind of like this stat, and I kind of like these guys, and it might all come down to, all right, let's start the pod. Who do you like? Brooks Koepka. Why? Because he wins at major championships, plays his best golf every single time. Boom. That's it. I mean, we don't have to spend 25 minutes breaking down the U.S. Open. We can spend 10 seconds and say, Brooks Koepka, he's really good at majors. He's playing this week. He's mentally tough. He's really good at golf. It might be him, and it very well could be him. I did a ranking for us at the Action Network yesterday of the top tier of the field, and I had Brooks Koepka at number 5, and what I wrote about him was he might be the only guy I could list at number 5 and legitimately has a case of I feel like I'm getting doubted. I'm going to put a chip on my shoulder. I'll put this up on the refrigerator because you guys are doubting me and don't think I can do it again. I wasn't trying to demean Brooks Koepka in any way, but he certainly could go out and win again this week because yes, mental toughness is going to be a big key this week as well.
All right. I want to tell people who are listening, your top 25. And if anyone who's in the pool with me is listening, yeah, you can assume that some people on this list will be people that I choose, and I'm not afraid to reveal my secrets because I keep winning anyways. Cameron Smith, number 1, Jordan Spieth, number 2, Scotty Scheffler, number 3, Patrick Cantlay, number 4, Koepka 5, Finau 6, 40-1 right now, Xander Schauffele 7, Patrick Reed 8, Rambo 9, Ryan Fox, number 10. Simon, go ahead. What, Sobel? What? Say it.
If you'd like me to list chalk, I'll list chalk. That's not what the Action Network is about.
No, listen. By the way, don't be defensive. I was actually doing this for a reason because Simon might have a question about long shots, and I think it's interesting that you have Ryan Fox at 130-1 at number 10 before Rory McIlroy at 15-1 at number 11, or Justin Thomas at 50-1, number 12. So I was teeing up my friend Simon by using your very good content to do that.
Yeah, Chad knows me so well. Jason, I just want long shots. I'm here. I love Brooks. That was incredible what we've seen, but I want crazy long shots. So I would love to hear who you like for the long shots because I'm addicted to it. I think it was Hideki who I hit on, 2 years ago now? What was that, the Masters he won? that was one of those where it's like, all right, if I can get 50 to 1 on a guy like Hideki, I need to find more diamonds in the rough. So I'm addicted to it. Who's your favorite long shot for the US Open this year?
So first of all, Simon, you're talking to a guy who's hit Emiliano Grillo and Nick Taylor as long shots in 2 of the last 3 weeks. In between, I had Victor Hovland, and he won, but he wasn't
Oh,
a
I
long
know.
shot. It's been 3 in a row. So
Thank you, my
I
friend.
just wanted to point that out. Yes, you're welcome. That said, when you're looking at long shots, I think it's interesting in golf because there are long shots who have win equity, and then there are long shots who I think can finish in the top 10, make nice top 10 props. Ryan Fox, a guy I really like this week. I think he's going to play some really good golf. Can he win a U.S. Open? I'm not so sure that he's ready to do that, even though he's been around for a long time. He's won all over the world. I just don't think that he's going to win, but I love him for top 10 props. As far as long shots that can win, I mentioned Patrick Reed already. We know he can win a major championship. I think his price is much too long in the marketplace. I would have priced him at somewhere in the 60 to 65 to 1 range. Instead, he's trading at about 80 to 1 right now. So I think that's a really nice price. Right around that number, and maybe even 85, 90 to 1 is Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim is a guy we've always known has a very high ceiling, but one that doesn't always rear its head because he'll win and then he'll go away for a year or so where it's a bottomless floor. And so when he's not winning, he's shooting 79s and missing the cut. That has changed over the past year. He's now made 18 of 21 cuts this season. He's been top 7 in 3 of his last 6 starts. We know the ceiling is still there. The floor has been elevated. What I always say about outright long shot plays is, look, if they finish second or they finish 156th, you lose the same amount of money. I want a guy who has that high ceiling as a long shot and can win. I think Siwoo Kim gives you that ceiling this week.
I do want to read your write-up for Ryan Fox because it is just funny. This is when an NFL team reaches for a 3rd round projection in the middle of the 1st round, and all the pundits are like, whoa! And then the guy turns out to be a very functional key player for a long time. It's a very good way to get me excited about Ryan Fox, not just now, but, at the Travelers or something, where they say some guys are taking the week off and Ryan Fox comes in and, he tears the place up.
Very well could happen. Ryan Fox, the only thing that has really broken his stride this year was the week after the Masters, played his first Masters, played pretty well. He's finished top 30 in 9 of his last 10 starts. After the Masters, he got pneumonia. So he went home, I believe back to New Zealand, where he's from, and then his wife had a second kid. And so I'm hoping, and I talked to him about it, I was like, was the pneumonia gone before the kid arrived? He's like, yeah, I think I was okay. So, I mean, everything is okay in the Fox household. But in all seriousness, just got his full PGA Tour membership. He had to play his way onto the PGA Tour this year. He was able to do that. He's got a family at home where he's got a young baby that, there's been a lot of, they call it the nappy factor, where right after a golfer has a kid or a second kid, all of a sudden it's like, this weight lifted and they start playing better golf. I don't discredit that. And so there's a lot of sort of weight lifted from his shoulder, and it feels like a little bit of a free roll for him. Not to go too deep on Ryan Fox, but I like players when essentially they're not playing with pressure on them. They're playing with this nothing to lose attitude because, hey, all I can do is win some more. Nothing's going to happen that's going to hurt my career this week.
Listen, by the way, it's not called a weight being lifted. It's called, holy fuck, I got a kid and I got to make a living. That's what that is. And by the way, Ryan Fox, a shout out to my buddy Josh in Chicago, who is on a tear as a golf bettor. And like every week he's texting me like his breakdowns and his legal pads of who he's betting on and the long shots. And he loves betting on golf. And Ryan Fox feels like the kind of golfer my buddy Josh is going to go in on. Sobel, I want to let you get back to work. Listen, I know you got a reservation at Dan Tana's. You got to get to Dan Tana's corner table.
Is it good? We went past there yesterday. Is it worth going?
Dude, Dan Tana's, it's like you go for the vibe, man. It is like stepping into, when you're talking about LACC and walking around and seeing the Beverly Hilton, like you walk into Dan Tana's and you feel like you are stepping into Hollywood glamour. I don't even remember the food. It's just a good vibe.
Well, I can tell you, and first of all, I'm going to thank you because you're picking up dinner tonight. I'm going out with Corner, Raybon, and Trebby for dinner tonight. So I
Jesus
appreciate it, Chad.
Christ.
Thank you.
Well, go to Dantana's, have a good time. Maybe someone will be listening to the podcast and they'll buy you a drink, which has happened to me and Simon before. But that is a dangerous crew. All I can tell you right now, Trebby, who just had a second kid, and yourself, you are not going to last all night with Kroner and Raybon, and you don't want to know where they're going after Dantana's. Let's wrap it up, though.
All right.
From what I can see, you like Cam Smith, you like Jordan Spieth. We might like Siwoo Kim as a long shot. We might like Patrick Reed as a long shot.
Correct. The one other player that I have bet, in all full disclosure, I've bet those 4 already, and I put a little on Tony Finau at 40-1. Tony Finau was my guy about 6 months ago. Before I knew much about this golf course, he just fit the recent profile of U.S. Open champions. Big, strong guy. You look at this used to be the major championship that the Corey Pavins, the Jim Furyks, with the Lee Jansens could win. The short guys who were accurate, kept it in the fairway and on the greens. Over the last 7 or 8 years, it's Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau, John Rahm, Gary Woodland. Even last year, Matt Fitzpatrick, not a big dude. He looks like he's 12 years old, but a guy that had gained a lot of swing speed. He gained some power going into that U.S. Open. And so I don't think we're going to see the same U.S. Open. It's just not the same setup that we've seen over the last 7 or 8 years. But Tony Finau fits the profile of guys we've recently seen win U.S. Opens. Just because at the beginning of the year, I was saying Tony Finau, even he's dropped a little bit in my ranking, but I don't want to get off of him because I've been on him for so long here.
All right. For even more U.S. Open betting content, check out our betting previews and our best bets episode on the Links and Locks podcast, also presented by our friends at bet365 with our good friend Jason Sobel. Enjoy dinner tonight. You're welcome. Enjoy LACC. Enjoy the U.S. Open. Sobel, great to see you. Thanks for coming on. Simon, we're going to transition. We're going to transition to your favorite podcast guest. Because every time Mike Leboff comes on, I see like the twinkle in your eye. And because he's talking about all of these things that are interesting to you, we're going to talk a little bit about darts. You can tell him how you did in your darts. We're going to talk about Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals. We're going to talk a little bit about previewing NHL draft. We got the Panthers and the Golden Knights. Leboff, welcome to the favorites. Leboff, host of the unbelievably popular Line Change, the hockey betting podcast for the Action Network, which, I'm going to take a little bit of credit here. Not you, not Mitchell, not anybody else, because we had you on before the season started and we promoted the podcast, and the podcast had record numbers this year.
Yeah, I would say that all credit goes to you once again.
Yeah, of course.
And you kept begging for a hockey podcast on the Action Network channels, and I finally relented. So you were right on both fronts.
I've got my finger on the pulse of what the audience wants.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what I think they want right now is a little Ashes talk for me and Simon. We've got cricket's best competition coming up. It's an Ashes summer in Simon's native England. That's why I'm dressed like I am. I'm pulling for Australia. I'll be betting on Australia. They looked great.
Can you explain to people before everybody just disengages from the podcast, because we're going to go from test cricket to darts and NHL. And when NHL is like the
big three,
your anchor leg, you're starting off with stuff that nobody gives a fuck about. But let's explain to people what you are wearing if they're not watching us on the YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I've got my West Indies cricket hat on, which, it's not, I'm pulling for Australia, but I like to put West Indies and India in the same bucket as Australia, because they all want to beat England, because Simon's England, they colonized all these places, and cricket was a way for them to beat their colonizers at something. That's why these countries all play cricket. And the Ashes is England and Australia. It's every other year. So the last one was in the Australian summer, so December 2021. That would be in Australia. Just absolutely kicked England's ass. It was not close at all. But I mean, it's different style of cricket there because it's dry. In England, it's wet and the conditions change. So it's about a pick 'em. And just remember, like, this is 5 test matches, so 5-day matches, and whoever comes out on top gets to take home an urn, which is the trophy. I'm not kidding. It's like this big. It's like the size of your hand. That it's like the opposite of the Stanley Cup. Like if you put the Ashes next to the Stanley Cup, it would be hilarious. And the reason it's called the Ashes is because in the 1880s, an Australian writer, Australia beat England in a test match, and he said that the body of England cricket has been killed and the body has been cremated and the ashes have been sent back to Australia. And that's how this whole thing came about. And it's the most it's the most bizarre sport to watch because nothing happens until something happens. It's like a court case just unfolding on grass. And it's about who can cheat like a little bit better, and everyone's hammered in the stands. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope everybody now watches it.
But it goes on for 7 days. That's the key to cricket.
5 days, yeah, five
Yeah.
days, 5 different times. So it starts Friday, and then it'll end July 31st.
Now, Leboff, do you know what the most famous cricket movie is in America?
No.
Dazed and Confused.
Confused why he's walking around with that paddle.
Yeah, just because of the paddle. That's as far as America goes with cricket. Is young kids getting smacked in the ass with cricket paddles.
You know, earlier today I was talking to a buddy, and
You have no friends, Chad.
I got one. My only friend left, and he was asking me something about betting, and I actually used Leboff as the example. Like, there is a personality that is almost, they are so angry at anybody liking anything that is mainstream but has no quirkiness, no character, no real emotional value. So they go to the extreme end to things like betting hockey or betting golf or betting darts or betting cricket and immerse themselves in it so much. And I need to know, now that we have Leboff on the podcast, and I'd forgotten he was coming on today, that where does that come from? Like why cricket instead of football? Why darts instead of NBA? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just more, you said it, it's like got more quirk to it. There's more substance to something that has these kind of insane history to it, rather than just here's a team that was invented. They're the Philadelphia Eagles. Why? Like, it's just because, well, there's a big city in Philadelphia, they needed a football team, and here's how they came about. Like Manchester United, and like, I'm a huge soccer fan too. Like, these clubs came up because they were either a factory worker, and their off day was Wednesday, right? There's a big city in England called Sheffield, and one club is Sheffield United, and they played on Sundays, and the other team was Sheffield Wednesdays because those guys had off on Wednesday, so they would play their soccer on Wednesday, right? So those kind of stories you learn through, and I want to keep going and learning more about those stories rather than, hearing about Aaron Rodgers mundanely for 365 days a year. I don't really give a shit what Aaron Rodgers is doing on like a Tuesday morning in New York City, but I would love to hear like about how why the biggest trophy in Test cricket is this little urn. And the way I start learning about these sports is betting on them, because you throw $5 on a game and you're invested and you're watching, and then the next thing you know, you're doing it again and you're learning more and more and more, and the next thing you know, you're geeked up for the Ashes more than you are for Game 5 of the NBA Finals or whatever happened last night, Game 6.
Well, easy transition from Sheffield United, who's been around for 150 years, to a Las Vegas Knights who've been around for, I don't know, 5 years. I mean, this is pretty crazy in the hockey world. I would love to get your view on this. The fact that we had a Panthers Vegas Finals, and it's been really good. I mean, honestly, I've really enjoyed these games. So I would love to know your view on just, how hockey is, right? We always talk about, I mean, I guess you could say the same with NBA. It's like, if it's not if it's not the original six in hockey, who really cares, right? That's kind of the whole knock in hockey, where it's like, people stick their nose up at these new franchises. And I'll admit, I hate Vegas, especially as a hockey fan. I hate that this team came in, they cherry picked all these players from these different teams, and here they are. I mean, dude, they are so dominant, so good. Their goalie Hill has been unreal in these finals. Just looking at this, we're 3-1 in. Is there any hope for Florida Panthers? Are they just lucky to be here? Because again, they're the 8th seed. I know in hockey doesn't matter as much, but you can really see the difference in talent level between them and Vegas. I mean, Vegas just looks just so complete. They don't have a weakness on their team. Their defense is good. Their offense is incredible. Are we literally seeing a team, the birth of a dynasty, or is this a one-hit wonder for Vegas? And they should enjoy this 3-1 lead they have right now.
Yeah, they'll be good. I think they're like 14 or 16-1 to win the Stanley Cup next year on the early looks. So, but their salary cap structure is bizarre. They always just kind of trade, kick the can down the road and bring in players that can help them in the immediate term rather than worry about anything in the future. And it's got them here. This is their second Stanley Cup final in 6 years. And
crazy.
Yeah, but I go back and forth on it. The NHL, when they expanded in Vegas, they set the expansion draft up in a way that it wasn't just going to, make them terrible. If it felt like in years past when other leagues
they fixed it. They wanted Vegas to be good. It felt like they wanted.
Yeah, but I mean,
Vegas
they did it with
to be
Seattle
good.
too. It was the same rules, and they just didn't want these expansion markets. Like the NHL needs to succeed in new markets. It's not like the NFL, right? Like where if the NFL opened, they put a team in Akron, Ohio, like that team would be fine because they're in the NFL. Like they got the NFL shield to protect them. It's not the same in the NHL. So they went with a different strategy, and it's worked. The Vegas fan base is awesome. The experience is great. So they're good. To answer your question, they're good. I think Florida is always going to be live because it's hockey. B, this team's done it before to a better team, to Boston in round one. But they do seem a little walking wounded. Matthew Tkachuk sounds like his shoulder is separated, and so if he does play, he's going to be playing on one arm, and he's their best player, one of the best players in the league. So losing him is a big deal. I do like Florida tonight, though, from a betting standpoint. You look at the last time these two teams played in Vegas, which was game 2, 8 days ago. The line closed minus 135-ish. It's minus 200 right now.
Right.
I don't think that any hockey player is worth 65 cents to a betting line. He's not some terrific quarterback for LSU or something, right? Like this is an NHL player. This is not a situation like that. So I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. So I'll be betting Florida and then putting together a little same game lottery ticket parlay to just in case it is the last game of the season. You got to go out with a bang, maybe win some scratch, use that scratch to head over to England. Check out one of the test matches.
Quickly, what will your same game parlay be? But then I have a follow-up.
Sure. 3 goal scorers. Michael Amadio on Vegas. He's like plus 460. Anton Lundell on Florida. He's 5 plus 550. And Alex Pietrangelo on Vegas. He's 7-1. I think they're all worth it.
Simon just made all those bets.
I honestly did.
It's interesting. It's interesting to me that Simon is anti-Vegas. I actually love that Vegas got so good so fast, and I think it's one of the few things the NHL has done right is making them being self-aware enough to know we better make sure these expansion teams, Vegas, Seattle, are good fast, because fans will not have patience. And they will spend their money elsewhere, and those stadiums will sit empty. And I think what Vegas did with the Golden Knights helped get the Raiders there, helped get the A's there. It turned that town into a sports town that felt like the locals could rally. I don't think they're taking to the Raiders the same way they are the Golden Knights because of, the relocation. The Golden Knights are an original team, but I love the way the NHL handled it. I love the fact the Golden Knights have been good. I love the way Vegas has embraced them. Leboff, the NHL did something right here.
Well, Vegas is a town that appreciates quirk too, right? Like there's whim to hockey and there's whim to
Dude,
Vegas.
every time I go into a sports book, half the screens are on test matches. That's how much they appreciate quirk.
Yeah. Yeah. If you get there early enough, they will be this coming week. And we'll be pulling for those Aussies.
What can you tell us about so you think Florida's going to win tonight? You put in your same game parlay of goal scorers. What should we be looking for the NHL draft, where I believe the Chicago Blackhawks have the number 1 overall pick?
That's what I was going to say, Chad. It's easy to say all that as a Blackhawks fan.
Yes.
I was going to say, you can be happy for Vegas. You got your cup, whatever, was it 10 years ago against my Flyers.
Three of
I'm
them.
a Bitters Flyers
You got
fan.
3 of them.
3 cups.
I'm bitter. I'm bitter, all right?
Yeah.
I got freaking Danny Briere running my team. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Flyers, but it's not good.
He's got the right idea with that team, though. I think.
Tell that to his son,
needed
who's a little piece of shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Boy.
Yeah, his son.
Oh boy.
Yeah, his son. No, it wasn't good. But the NHL draft we were talking about before, right, Chad?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk those poor Blackhawks fans. 3 Stanley Cups in a decade, then have to endure 2 tough seasons, and now they get the next Connor McDavid.
Seriously.
Meanwhile, the one year the Islanders win the lottery, the guy that they pick just abandoned ship. When the going gets tough, John Tavares gets going somewhere else. The draft will be fun. It's always fun to bet. Last year, I hit an 18-1 winner on the second overall pick with our great buddy, great New Jersey Paisan, Steve Petrella. The 2 of us hit Simon Nemec to New Jersey because we knew that if Montreal picked the guy they eventually picked, which was Yuri Slafkovsky, the Devils wouldn't take a center. They'd probably take a defenseman, and he was severely underrated by the sports books, and that's what we'll look for here. So this is going to sound nuts, but the key to betting this NHL draft, because we know that Bedard is going to go to your beloved Blackhawks first, is trying to figure out where Matvei Michkov, he's this little Russian star, but we don't know if he's coming over, when he's coming over, or if. His dad was found dead in a pond. I'm not kidding. A few months ago. So whenever
Very Russian.
Yeah, whenever you're dealing with Russia, things get a little interesting. So a lot of teams, he's, I think, considered the second most talented player in the draft class, but there's so much risk to picking him. So using him as kind of the wild card is how you want to bet the draft. And I think that the team he's going to end up going to is San Jose in the 4th spot. But that's not the bet I'm going to make. The bet I'm going to make is kind of based off that. It's Leo Carlsson. He should be double digits at the very least to go 5th overall to Montreal. They need a center. Carlsson is projected by most mock drafts to go 2nd to Columbus, but I think that they're actually going to end up picking an American center, Will Smith, 3rd to Columbus after Adam Fantilli goes to Anaheim. That seems like a certainty. So it'll be Bedard, Fantilli, and then most people expect Carlsson to go 3rd to Columbus. But I actually think that they'll end up going with the more finished product, which is this guy Will Smith, because Columbus wants to compete next year. I don't think they want to spend another year developing players, which means that Michkov and Carlsson will go 4-5 in some combination, and I'm going to bet that San Jose is the team that will embrace the risk of taking Michkov at 4 because they're still in the process of tearing things down and can be patient with a player like that. So that lands me on Leo Carlsson to Les Habitants at the 5th overall pick. It should be a good number. So when those start to pop up more widespread, that'd be the bet I'd hop on.
All right, Leboff. I feel like we've covered everything we need to cover for the NHL until line change is back in its supremacy as the season begins again. Congrats to me. for so aggressively pushing the podcast and putting it on. It's kind of setting the table for you and Mitchell to do something with it.
Yeah, like once again, it was a master class in being a media mogul. And Matt, Nick Martin, and I thank you for setting such a good example.
Yeah. You know what I think? As the great Wayne Gretzky once said, I like to skate where the puck is going, not where the puck is.
Exactly.
Simon. Oh, Simon. For Simon Hunter, I am Chad Millman. We both want to remind you that the Favorites podcast is proudly presented by bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get bet365's exclusive sign-up offer. Bet $1 on any game. Get $200 in bonus bets, and bet365 is now live in Iowa. So for new users in the Hawkeye State, you can get an even bigger sign-up offer. Bet $1 and get $365 in bonus bets. Must be 21 or older. Offer is available in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, and Iowa. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. I want to thank Jason Sobel from LA. I want to thank Mike Leboff from Long Island. I want to thank Charlie DeSturco for producing us on the YouTube. Matt Mitchell, as always, you can download us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Say whatever you want. Feedback is a gift. Until next time, love you.